I've always appreciated pieces of media that know exactly what they are. When the creators have a specific vision in mind and instead of trying to conform to maximize profits, stick to that vision by any means necessary. Something about the blood, sweat, and tears of a team dedicated to bringing something we've never seen before to life against all odds is what makes art such a beautiful thing. And nowhere is this philosophy better showcased than in Redline. The 2009 racing masterpiece produced by Madhouse and a team of animators who spent 7 years hand drawing each of the film's 100,000 frames. It was a process so time consuming and expensive that it nearly caused the studio to go bankrupt. But what came out of it was a film so unbelievably grand in scale that it will never be replicated. Redline is about as close to a perfect film as you can get, at least in terms of the type of film this is. If you go into this movie expecting a rich narrative with engaging character development, plot twists, and Oscar-worthy performances, this couldn't be further from that. Because Redline, for lack of a better word, is the dictionary definition of spectacle. You often hear the phrase style over substance used in a negative connotation, but Redline wears that mantle like a badge of honor. Because this is a story about racing, and there are very few things on this earth simpler to understand than a car race. You have a bunch of cars trying to get from point A to point B. Whoever gets to point B first wins. That's it. Now, the way most films would make a concept this simple engaging to the viewer would be to center this race around the character. The race itself is mostly just used as an outlet for the main character to complete their journey, whether it be getting vengeance on another racer or trying to reclaim their old glory from their past. You get the point. Redline is pretty much the opposite. Don't get me wrong, there is a protagonist and antagonist in this movie, but the question this movie wants to answer is simply, what if there was a race with the fastest cars, with the fastest racers from all over the universe, duking it out in the most intense showing of speed, passion, and adrenaline ever put to film? Everything else is just a formality. The film itself is actually centered around two races, the first one occurring right at the beginning. And not to over exaggerate or anything, but this might be the greatest opening to any movie ever made. If there was any confusion as to what kind of movie this is, all doubts are answered within the first 10 minutes. This race is called Yellow Line, and whoever wins it qualifies for Red Line, the biggest racing event in the universe. But I would argue that this race is actually superior. It's a lot more focused both in terms of setting and stakes. The announcers do a great job of filling us into the story and who's in this competition, but when things really start to get crazy is when our main character, Sweet JP, activates one of his power-ups and says one of my favorite lines in any movie ever.
You're just a voice, pal. You don't know a damn thing about racing!
I love all the little details in this race. When JP hits that second gear, the car doesn't just burst straight out like a rocket ship, we see it actually bump around up and down as it accelerates. There's a real weight to these vehicles and everyone is different, both in terms of design and the way they move. Every turn, every weapon, they're all unique, and you get a clear insight into the different strategies each racer uses to try and win. This isn't just mindless racing with fast cars. You really feel that sense of speed, not only in the racetrack, but with the crowd as well, with several shots of groups of people getting absolutely blown away when these cars pass by. What we get in these first 15 minutes is about as good of a tone setter as you can get. Fast cars, explosions, missiles, all set to a perfectly simple yet intense techno background, and this is supposed to be the warm-up. We learn that JP, despite having his vehicle blown up by his mechanic, managed to qualify for Redline due to the fact that the race is being held on the most dangerous planet in this universe, Robo-World, run by a militant robot species who desire nothing more than order, something that these racers are actively threatening. Robo-World is very much your typical dystopian, apocalyptic type setting, but every part of it feels alive and lived in. There is a wide variety of characters inhabiting this space, from these little tiny gremlins trying to sell tickets, to this squid-looking waiter serving lobster, and of course these various different robots. There's a real sense of life and routine on this planet, and that level of detail we see in the races is carried over to this world as well. From the hospital full of reporters, to this little kiosk selling cigarettes, to the fight in this beautifully blue-lit seafood restaurant. The characters, while lacking in terms of an arc, complement this film's over-the-top tone to a T. You have Machine Head, the 5-time champion, the Super Boys, a magical racing duo, a pair of bounty hunters, a cop that's cheating on his wife with his co-worker, and of course, Sweet JP. JP is a simple man who races simply for the love of the sport. In his mind, racing isn't about the money or a way out of the mob. Racing is just fun, and something he's loved since he was a child, which is where his relationship with Sonoshi comes in. On the surface, their relationship is a little cheesy, which it is, but their love of racing and overcoming the obstacles to make it to this level since their childhoods is what brings them together. Like I said before, this is a very simple story, and the characters in the world they inhabit should reflect that, because in a film giving us shots like this, I'm not here for the story. The actual Redline race takes up around a third of this film in what can only be described as a barrage of chaos. It takes all of the high-speed action from Yellowline and somehow cranks it up to an even higher level. The cars are faster, deadlier, more unique, on top of the fact that the government is trying their best to kill everyone on this track. They also unleash a bioweapon named Funky Boy, who's capable of surviving a gigantic laser from space. So one of the generals of Robo-World's army has to brutally merge himself with this weird tentacle monster in order to stop it. There is so much going on in this race, but it never feels overwhelming. There are clear beats that give this race cohesion while still providing an experience so exhilarating that can't really be described in words. Like I said before, this movie is first and foremost a visual spectacle, with some of the most beautifully drawn animation sequences the medium has to offer. It took every ounce of creative juice from an entire studio, and it's shown within every single frame of this film. Even looking at some of this footage, I still wonder, how on earth did they draw this? Redline is timeless in every sense of the word, because there is no way 50 or 100 years from now this footage won't be mind-blowing. I can't recommend this film enough if you've never seen it, and if you have, now you have an excuse to re-experience this work of art. Thanks for watching.